with what I'm taking in visually, auditorily, and checking into my body. What am I smelling? Just being with what is available right in the moment through all of my senses.
Sorry, I was imagination, Peter. Can you say this again? Like just that's
Are you
interesting.
kidding?
I'm not kidding. I was just this, and then I was thinking about this and that, and then it's like I missed it. Sorry.
You miss Peter, or?
No, I missed what you said.
Okay. So self-remembering for me is just disengaging from the thinking or thoughts that are of the past and the future once I catch it. And then taking inventory of what I can see with my eyes, what I can hear, what I can smell. And I do a scan to see what's happening in my body. And also to just recognize and allow whatever's happening in my body. One thing I don't do, which maybe I should, is see if there's an emotion there. But I feel like that also might.
I would say to this, Nicole, for that second or few seconds that you realized you had been in imagination, that first realization, that is self-remembering. The rest is then a reaction to what you had seen when you remembered yourself. Consciousness became aware that it had been absent. It was stifled by, it was submerged under thought, under thinking, under imagination. And for just a second, the real you, realized that. And then that prompted a reaction. And then you go looking for causes and sources and subjects. And now you're sort of in self-observation, you might say. And so it was, if you could learn to taste that moment when you catch yourself not remembering yourself, that's really self-remembering.
Okay, that's interesting.
And it's difficult to stay there because
Yeah.
just as you were lost in thought, consciousness was lost in thought. Now, ironically, it becomes lost in trying to analyze what you had been thinking about or whether there was an emotion there.
Got it. Thank you. It's amazing though, it's not very long before some sort of doing, right? Like where it'll be like as soon as I catch it, I'm like, okay. Like drop in, like I can hear this voice in my head telling me what to do, right? Like, what are you seeing? What are you hearing? What are you smelling? What are you tasting? It's becoming a little more automatic now where there isn't the mind telling me that I need to do it. It's just becoming more rote, but it still feels, I don't think it has anything to do with the nothing that comes right after I catch myself in the thought, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. One other thing is when we catch ourselves in a moment where we realize we've not been remembering ourselves, sometimes the best we can do is then just try to harness our full attention to what's going on now. And so coming back to full attention and controlling attention is a way to get back to self-remembering. And you could almost say that self-remembering has a component. It's sort of like we're trying to get out of the water. We're trying to get out of the water and into the air. And the air, up in the air, is self-remembering. But sometimes we can't manage that, so we still have a foot in the water. And that foot in the water is attention. But we don't want to sink below the surface too far. So it's you were below the surface and you realized it. You were deep in the second state, as the fourth way says. Your consciousness was submerged. And then you popped up above the surface. So how do we stay at the surface? That's what this becomes about. How do we stay at the surface, at least, of presence, of self-remembering? And that's just the word the fourth way uses, self-remembering. It's consciousness maintaining consciousness. But and sometimes, especially initially, we can't quite manage that, but we can manage to tread water, and we do that with attention in the moment.
Yeah. And the one thing I will say is that I'm noticing, like I use this bell of mindfulness, but mine goes off like every 48 minutes. But I'm noticing that I'm having moments of remembering just spontaneously now without having to use, reminders. It's just, I mean, it's only maybe 3 times a day, but still that's huge progress.
It is huge. It is huge.
After 2 years.
Do you know, think about what you just said. 3 times a day is huge, which is true. Most people don't realize what we're talking about. They're oblivious to the consciousness in themselves. It is huge. You like analysis too. Be careful.
Yes, I do. You already picked that up, huh, Peter?
So you were saying something at the end, Peter, like how to, as you said, to fully engage, full attention in this moment. You mentioned self-observation, because what she described, what Nicole described when she came to, like woke up, and then actually you had this like some thoughts that were a special type of thought that were kind of counseling you towards the work. Yeah, it's like, hey, notice this, be present. In the work we call this work eyes, like thoughts that are actually from the army that you are developing, the army of the part in you that is interested in healing and waking up and discovering God. And anyway, so due to you having put effort and attention into trying to be more conscious, now all that effort now it activates some kind of groups of eyes, and their purpose is to remind you of your work. These are called work eyes. These are good.
In service of the work, right?
In the service of the work. Yeah. So the more we work, the more we develop this some aspect of our psychology that is like a good coach. It's not nasty. If it starts to be nasty, talking shit about us, like, God damn it, you didn't remember yourself just 3 times. Fuck, man, what the fuck? That's not the right coach. That's another disguise, the same kind of one that beats ourselves up in child, whatever. But no, it has this reminder, and it, they say it's some aspect of this, it's some servant in the house that, although the master is not at home, it does the will of the master. Yeah, and it prepares the house for the master. Like in the Bible.